Here's a quick demonstration of the functionality of this KIM1 that's for this listing. It is a Rev G board. It is serial number SC7448. As you can hopefully see, it is a board that's inside an acrylic case. I had this acrylic case made special for it so that when I'm not using it, it'll keep all the dust and all that bad stuff on it. So for this test, I'm going to go ahead and remove the top of the acrylic cover, and we're going to put it over here. Now there's actually a base to the acrylic case as well. It is underneath, but I'm going to go ahead and let the KIM stay on top of that. It just works better for the video having it off the screen. So this is the KIM1 that is for sale in this listing. It is a board here along with a base. This is actually an aluminum clipboard that I converted to the base for the KIM. It has the side edge card connectors mounted on the side here, and it has cables for the power, for the TTY, and for the cassette mounted on the base. And the board itself is standalone and no modification to the board. It has all the original chips on it that I got anyway, except for this one right here. This is the 6502, and the original had a really bad phase 1 clock. So I moved it to this one I got off of an Apple II. So the board is in very good shape. Here's the back side here. Everything looks pretty good. So the way the board is mounted onto the base, you'll see the base has all these plastic little feet. It makes it so I don't have to bolt the board down, but it'll sit there without shorting out on the aluminum. So it works pretty well. So to put the board on, just put it back into the card edge connectors and let it sit on those little rubber feet, and we're in good shape. So let's go ahead and start off with the demonstration. The first thing to do is the power on the KIM. The listing comes with a power supply. The power supply provides 5 and 12 volts. So we'll go ahead and plug that in. And there's a connector on the base for the KIM that is the power supply connector. Get it rotated just right and plug that in. And now the KIM has power. It has both 5 and 12 volts at this point. The 12 volts is used for the audio section and the analog electronics here, and the 5 is for the rest of the circuitry. Now, an important point with this KIM is the switch for TTY and keyboard is mounted right here. What that means is that to boot off of TTY, which I'll demonstrate later, you go this way, and to boot from the keyboard, you go this way. So we're going to boot from the keyboard, hit the reset, and the magical display lights up just great. This display and this keyboard is how you can do programming directly with a KIM without using a terminal or something. For example, to examine address 0000, just go AD, and then type in the numbers, and now that's the D3 is at 0000. If I want to put a different value there, I can hit the data key, and we'll say FF, and now 0000 has FF in it. Now you can do all the programming you need from this, but it really makes it hard. There's so much that you have to do if you want to enter a 1K program here. So fortunately, the KIM has a few other ways to do entry of programs, but also using a terminal instead of using the keyboard is a really good option. So this listing actually comes with 2 sets of cables. The first one that we're going to demonstrate is this set here. This is the TTY set of cables. TTY, same as a terminal. And what this does is it takes the current loop interface for the KIM and converts it over to RS-232 so you can use something like a laptop to interface with the KIM. So we're going to go ahead and set that up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I get plugged in, and then I'm going to move over to the computer so you can see what's going on there. So I will move this over to the side and plug the USB. This is a serial to USB converter, because this is a relatively new computer. It doesn't have any of the very old RS-232 connections on it. So that's the computer setup. And then the other end of these cables, this is a DB25 connector. And the DB25, I'm going to rotate it around so it doesn't jump up in the air too much, connects right to the DB25 connector on the base for the KIM. You can press down as hard as you need there because it's on the base, it's not on the board for the KIM. So what happens here is that the DB25 goes through a current loop to RS-232 converter from a DB25 down to DB9 and then to the USB to the DB5 RS-232 serial. Now, I use the Teraterm program. The Teraterm program has everything you need to interface well to the KIM. So I start up that program, and I have to pick the serial port that the USB is set to. And mine is COM4. Now, your mileage may vary. Use the Windows box and the device manager to figure out what COM port USB serial converter is on. So once you start the serial, now that's not the only step you need to do. You actually need to go to the setup for the serial port. and you need to change it to something like 2400 baud. That works best that I've found. 8 bits for data, 2 bits for stop, and no flow control. And then because we're going to be transmitting a program using the paper tape option of the Kim, it's good to set up some delays. So I put a 10 millisecond delay per character and a 100 millisecond delay for the lines. So I get those in. Okay, now the TerraTerm program is set up. Now I'm going to reboot the Kim in TTY mode. Simply flick the switch over to TTY, hit reset, and then on the computer, hit the delete key, and the Kim boots right up. And when the Kim boots right up, you can see the prompt there. It shows address 0000, and there's the FFF that we put in there. You can go to a different address by entering the address. We'll say 0200 and hit the space bar, and it'll go to that address. You can also add new data there. For example, I could say FF dot, and it puts that value in that address. By the way, when you use the keyboard, the TTY, you need to always use uppercase characters. So now I'm going to demonstrate getting a program loaded into the Kim1 from the terminal. And we're going to do that using the paper tape interface built into the Kim1. And that from the terminal is simply hitting the capital letter L for load. Now, once you type the L in TerraTerm, you go over to the TerraTerm menu, go to File, and say Send File. Now, I have it already loaded up. There online, there is a copy of the first book of Kim and all the files in the first book of Kim. And in that has a really neat little program called Timer. So I'm going to click on Timer and say Open. Now, this is causing TerraTerm to transmit the paper tape version of that program into the Kim. And you can see there that Kim came back and said, with the prompt, basically that's okay. And now I'm going to start the timer running by going to address 0200, and capital G means go. Now you can see on the display, it's not going to the terminal, it's going to the display now. If you can see on the display, it's a timer, and I can start it up by hitting the 1 key. And now it's running in seconds and hundreds of seconds there. I can stop it with a 0, reset it with a 2. It's a neat little program, but it's really short, which is nice. It makes these demos really easy. So that is a demonstration of using the serial port, and you can do all the things you need. I should say that the TTY to a serial port on the Kim. You can do all the things you need that way. However, there's another cool interface that you can use for the Kim, which is a cassette interface. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the serial port. And you can leave them plugged in to get at the same time if you want. But I'm going to unplug the TTY, and then I'm going to plug in the cassette interface. Now, what we use for this Kim, for the cassette interface, and all these cables are included with this listing, is a good old-fashioned TRS-80 cassette cable. Really neat. And the TRS-80 cassette cable always had the record and the play jacks to it. It also had a really cool control one that would start and stop the cassette motor, but the Kim doesn't know how to do that. So that's unused for this cable, and I didn't cut it off because it's a really cool TRS-80 cable. So to use this, you plug into this connector across from the power, and it's a cassette interface, and you got to get the rotation just right. And then the neat part about using the cassette interface is that you actually don't have to use a cassette player. You can use your computer to play the audio files that would otherwise be on the cassette. And those audio files can be found in the same spot that you can find the Kim1 paper tape files. So I'm going to go load one of those up, and we're going to try it through there, through the cassette interface. Now first I'm going to play the WAV file so you can hear what it sounds like, and you're going to recognize this if you've been working on computers for as long as I have. So that nasty noise is what's recorded on the cassette player. But I'm going to go ahead and reset that, and we're going to get ready to load it into the Kim. So to do this, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to boot it in keyboard mode. So flick the switch, do a reset. In fact, what I'm going to do is unpower it so we can make sure that the program is cleared. So there we go. Unpower it, and we'll power it back up. Get that rotation just right. Keyboard on setting, reset. Okay, now we're powered back up. Now, to load a program into the Kim through the cassette interface, you can use the user manual. It's on page 15, and it describes the process for loading in the cassette. There's two things you got to do. The first is you have to set up the right register, and then the second you have to tell it which file from the cassette you want to load up. I happen to know that the file for this one is 00. And they can go from 00 to FF. And some actual cassette tapes will have multiple files on them. So if you go to page 15 in the user manual, the process is go to address 00F1. And you can see at 00F1, I've got 4E right now. This is where you need to set it to 00. So data 00. And then you need to go to the address where you put the file number for the cassette. So address 17F9. And you'll see right now it has FF in it. I'm going to drop in 00 because that is the file number for this particular recording. And then I'm going to go to the address where you actually start the program. That's 1873. And once I'm ready, I'll go ahead and press go. But before I press go, I'm going to go ahead and plug in. This is marked as play. I'm going to plug this in to my headphone jack. Okay. Now, when I start to play here, you're no longer going to hear that nasty noise because something's plugged into the headphone jack. So here we go. Press go on the Kim. Goes blank, waiting for that input. And I'll press play. Now, there was quite a bit of silence going on, but it's a pretty short program. Now, it would have displayed an error if the cassette didn't load appropriately. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. This is that same program that did the timer. So we'll go to the appropriate address 0200, and go. There's our timer. It's up and running again. So we started up with 1, stop it with 0, reset with 2. So there you have it. This is the Kim 1 demonstration for this listing. It is a great board. It does all the functions very well. And please look at the listing to see some more close-up pictures so you can see what the dates on some of the chips are and see what the condition of the board is. Thanks.